This is what a second-person video game would look like. Isn't that just going to be like a text adventure? This?
In a first-person game, you see the game world through the actual eyes of the player character as though you were that character, and in a third-person game, you see the player character from the outside, often from behind their back or from a fixed isometric perspective. But the existence of these two perspectives begs a question. If this is what a first-person game looks like, and this is what a third-person video game looks like, what exactly would second-person look like? Now, I'm not the first person to wonder about this. The question of whether or not a second-person shooter could actually exist is one that has plagued video game message boards just about as long as the internet has existed. It's also served as the premise for some pretty good comedy sketches over the years, like this one from Mega 64.
Introducing the world's first second-person shooter.
And this one from The Onion.
To enter second-person shooter mode, you just simply adjust the narrative slider from first to second.
You are walking down a long corridor. Suddenly, a Nazi leaps out from around a doorway and unleashes a hail of machine gun fire in your direction.
To help us actually figure out what a second-person game would really be, I think it would be helpful to look at this grammatically. In written language, the term first person denotes any writing where the point of view uses phrases like I or my to tell a story from the perspective of the protagonist. Third person writing, on the other hand, uses third person pronouns, for example, he went this way, she went that way, etc., to talk about characters from an outside perspective. Now, second person writing does exist, but it's kind of a weird one. In second person, the primary pronoun used is you. You do this, you go there, etc. The second person is actually a lot less common in narrative writing. It's actually something you're more likely to encounter in, say, a list of instructions or a choose-your-own-adventure book. Now, the analogous video game camera perspectives for first and third person writing are obvious, but what about for second person?
This would just be like
we know what an
NPC
looks like,
in a fun
game looks like, but what about a you game? Strangely enough, I actually found the answer to this before I even came up with a question, and believe it or not, it came to me courtesy of a game you may have heard me talk about once before, and that game is Driver San Francisco.
True.
See, for all the interesting missions in Driver San Francisco, and there are plenty of them, there's one mission in particular that I swear to God I think about all the time. The mission in question is called The Target, and it's the final mission of Chapter 6 of the game. In the game, you play as a cop named John Tanner, who, for reasons I won't get into here, basically has a superpower that allows you to take over the bodies of any other driver and has begun using that superpower to foil a possible terror plot from a gangster named Jericho. Over the course of the game, Tanner decides that the best way to unravel Jericho's plans is to do it from the inside, and in order to do that, Tanner takes over the body of a low-level henchman named Ordell and uses his driving skills to help move Ordell up the ranks. Now, the mission begins as normal with Tanner and his partner Jones driving their iconic orange Dodge
Fast and Furious Crossroads.
Soon enough, you warp into Ordell's body with Layla in the passenger seat, where she gives you some clarity on your mission. So you drive to the destination she's given you, closing in on your target, and as you get close, this happens.
Slow down. We should acquire the target anytime now.
This looks good. Hi, Dawson, and thanks for the bits,
The
Wonder.
yellow Dodge, up ahead. Stay close, but don't be obvious.
That's my car.
What? That's the cop that's been getting in our way.
Do we follow him to the target?
He
Kill
is
him.
the target.
Oh.
It's you. You've been assigned to kill you.
Wait, that's fucking
after
genius.
That cutscene ends, you are back in Ordell's body in the first person with Layla sitting to your right. But then, you press the throttle to accelerate, and the car in front of you moves. You steer to the left and to the right, and the car in front of you moves to the left and then to the right. And
that's super clever.
It sinks in that the car you're controlling is actually the car you're following. Your perspective as the player is entirely separate from what you're controlling.
This would suck for a whole game, but a
words,
mission? That's pretty cool.
You're pursuing you. Now, as you can see, the car that you're sitting in is moving too, but crucially, you're not the one who's controlling that car. The car you're sitting in is moving automatically, seemingly operated by an AI.
What game was this? Driver San Francisco?
The car you're actually controlling. It's basically like a chase mission in any other video game, just like you've seen countless other times, except for this time, it's flipped on its head. This time, you're the one being followed, while simultaneously seeing it all unfold from the perspective of the car doing the following. And while it's hard for me to guess how well this comes across on video, all these elements combine to make something that is very, very odd to play. There's something shocking and disorienting about seeing a first-person perspective on your screen, but also not controlling that perspective while remotely operating the
That
car.
is such a
you're
cool
tailing. It's the
idea.
closest the video game has ever gotten
Damn it, I
to
forgot to
feeling like
click
a
the tree
true
again.
out-of-body experience, and it's an experience
Wasted
that has
XP.
stuck with me ever since I first played this game back in 2011. Now, when I first played Driver San Francisco 8 years ago, I kind of just played through this mission once, start to finish, marveling at the unique perspective that this mission granted you, but then moving on to the rest of the game. But I've always felt like if I ever came back to this game, I'd want to pick this mission apart and see what makes it tick, and that's part of what I hope to accomplish with this video. See, as cool as this mission is, it's also pretty linear. The whole thing takes place with you driving down this completely
Is Resub
locked
up too
down
late?
race course with no exits or detours, pretty much just a straight shot to the exit. I've always assumed that the developer Reflections designed the mission this way due to the technological limitations of this weird second-person camera that they built just for this mission. Perhaps there was no way for them to get this camera to behave properly in the actual open world with all the various streets, elevations, and alleyways you
Shit
can dip
driving,
into,
kid.
not to mention the other street traffic.
You're not welcomed in the
On top of
Toretto
that,
family.
They built this mission with a pretty strict countdown timer, forcing you to hit the checkpoints in rapid succession.
There's the 5 gives
Something
him
that I
the
always
beef
assumed was
ravioli and the
placed there to
resub
keep you from
monkey.
ever veering too far off the path and breaking the game somehow. So before finishing the mission, I paused, started it over, and then this time, instead of starting the race as intended, I swung the car into a 180, driving the car backwards in the wrong direction. Now, when I do this, the AI driver immediately begins panicking, rapidly spinning the steering wheel, trying desperately to keep my car visible in frame, and then eventually it turns around 180 degrees to reveal what looks like the entire open world of Driver San Francisco, seemingly 100% accessible to
Oh
the
god, wait.
Now, I drove away from the racetrack and began exploring.
The AI is killing
I
everyone.
myself to hit some kind of invisible wall or failure state for going off course, but it never happened. It all actually worked. It turns out that Reflections had generously designed this mission, intentionally or unintentionally, so that the mission countdown timer doesn't actually begin until you reach the first checkpoint, meaning that if you never hit that first checkpoint, you can drive around forever. This led to what I can only describe as a transcendent video game experience. It felt
Well,
like I
that's
was
a bit
seeing
pretentious.
something that I was never meant to see. This ability to explore the city, as
The
much as I
universe
wanted to, all
slowly
from this
melted around
wholly
me.
unique, extremely surreal second-person viewpoint. It felt like a magical experience and one that almost nobody else has experienced for themselves.
True, this is
Now,
entirely unique.
revisiting this mission and managing to escape the confines laid down by the developers all those years ago, I really wanted to try and push this thing to its limits. I couldn't resist trying to break things a little. I drove the car off ramps, into oncoming traffic, all of it, but surprisingly, it held together perfectly. That is, until I tried one specific thing. See, I haven't talked about it before, but this mission actually does have a failure condition. In the lower right corner of the screen, there's a health meter, and it represents the health of Tanner's car, the car you're chasing/driving.
That's exactly
but if
the
you get
kind
into
of
one
shit
too
you
many
say.
collisions while
Yeah,
driving this car in the
ironically,
second person,
not
you can
seriously.
actually run out of health, causing Tanner to die and the mission to end in a loss. And then decided to try out the one thing I hadn't attempted yet. I turned around and drove the car in the second person directly at myself. I kept driving towards myself, putting on the pressure closer and closer, and then...
Whoa!
Nice work.
it broke. All at once, the second
Wow.
person vehicle shoots into a wall, clips through it, and
Sent
then
them
launches
straight to
hundreds
hell.
of feet into the air. Briefly, one frame at a time, we can get glimpses of the chaos that unfolded. We see the car inside the wall, then we see the car's front console flipped over, we see what appears to be the ocean floor, and then the pavement as seen from underneath. We see rooftops, the driver's arm, the sky, trees, abstract geometry, and then the city from above, flooded with unloaded geometry. After that, we see the car spinning and spinning in midair, giving us glimpses of San Francisco from above, before finally getting so high
San Francisco's
that
never
nothing
looked
can
better.
be seen but endless ocean. Suddenly, all at once, the car snaps back to Earth. The health meter for Tanner's vehicle turns blindingly white, and then the second-person viewpoint fills with an orange-yellow hue, Tanner's car. Quickly, it becomes clear that the second-person car has somehow spawned inside of Tanner's vehicle, dealing infinite damage to the car. A deafening crash sound can be heard, and shattered glass flies everywhere, and then, for a brief moment, right before the mission ends,
And then he
the
gets
camera
arrested.
inexplicably shifts into Tanner's car.
The guy playing the game
car is
gets
balanced on
arrested for
its
this.
nose, its windshield shattered, thrust impossibly through another vehicle. Shaken by my otherworldly encounter seemingly brought on by pushing this already existential
Shaken?
mission to its limits, I reset the mission and played beginning to end one last time, this time careful to do it the right way, not wanting to disturb whatever eldritch being I'd upset by breaking the mission in the first place. After all, I thought, I know that every mission in Driver San Francisco ends with a continue and retry option, so if I really wanted to explore this mission again, I could always hit the retry button to give it another shot after running through it normally. So, I proceed to complete the mission as intended, a mission, by the way, that ends with the antagonist Jericho actually taking over your body and attempting to drive you into a lethal car accident.
You mean Jericho?
Sit back and
Fuck!
enjoy the show. Not many people get to watch themselves die.
A problem that Tanner decides to solve by, disturbingly enough, shifting for the first and only time in the game into his partner Jones's body. Yes, that partner.
What the hell's going on?
Anyways, I go to finish
What
the
a
mission
fucking
the normal way,
game.
staying on the path, fully expecting the restart option that appears after most missions to show up. Instead, I get to the end of the mission, and for some reason that I still can't explain, the only option was continue. The reset option had vanished. Panicked, I quickly hit Alt F4 and exited the game, hoping I could load up my save file and play through the mission again, but it was too late. It had already autosaved
Oh,
on my file, and the mission
no!
was gone with no way to replay it again.
And that mission has been banned from the game forever.
Look, Driver San Francisco is a game full of weird, interesting, strikingly designed missions, but to me, the target has always stood out as the perfect example of what makes this game special. In designing this mission, Reflections took decades of 3D video game conventions and turned them on their head.
It doesn't
to
really
create
seem
a truly
unexplainable, though.
out-of-body
Like,
experience.
you
That,
just
to
play
me,
from the
is an
perspective of someone
accomplishment worth
else
celebrating.
looking at you.
Please play Driver San Francisco.
If you're here,
This honestly felt
Who's
like
the
more of a
neighbor?
review of the
No one.
game.
Oh God.
Play it? Yeah, maybe I'll
Right, so a
play
couple
it.
quick updates on the Driver San Francisco situation. The petition to get Ubisoft to relist the game that I mentioned at the end of my last video
Hunted
is
by the
now at
government
over
now.
70,000 signatures, which is insane. Please, if you have any interest in this game, please sign this petition. It now feels like 100,000 is within our grasp, which is crazy, and I can't believe I'm saying, but it could happen, which to me feels like an unignorable
Did it
number.
happen?
But in the meantime, as you might have noticed, Ubisoft has not relisted the game. They have been ignoring the 70,000 signatures we have.
This is 2 years old. Is it relisted? Is Driver San Francisco back? No. Nah. Nope. Man, fuck Ubisoft. Ubisoft does nothing but make shit open world games. Give me Driver San Francisco. That looked kind of cool. That's not true. They also abuse their employees. Oh yeah, good point. Good point.